anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. We are live Tuesday night, running a little bit behind because of some technical difficulties as always, but we're here. Looking forward to having a little good back and forth, and tonight's topic is going to be the Mexican trade deal, just because I came across an article in passing and just skimmed over the surface of it, and in just looking at it, I instantly had a problem with it because I believe, I'm not quite sure of the extent of how serious the details of that deal is, or is it just preliminary talks, or not quite sure. But from what I saw in the article in regards to the hourly wage, I don't think it's going to fly, especially for the city of Detroit here. So I'm going to share my thoughts with you on that, and also get your thoughts on the deal, because I believe everybody has their own take on what's happening and some of the fine details of it as more of it's unwound and revealed to the public. And so, other than that, welcome to RTD Live Talk. Let's get this thing going tonight. And so, any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're checking in from in the chat, as well as the phone line above me, 1-833-LIVE-RTD. We'd love to hear your voice. Give you a voice, give you a chance to share what's on your mind via audio. So, without further ado, let's actually get to today's topic. As well, whatever else comes across your mind, feel free to let me know. And so, here we have a major conversation, mainstream media-wise, in regards to the whole trade deal. And just from the stuff, a couple articles I saw, it looks like Canada now is probably a little bit jealous because Mexico and the U.S. seem to be working things out pretty rapidly. And it makes it appear that Canada is not too cooperative. So we'll see what they're able to bring to the table as far as any profitable as well as convenient changes to this whole NAFTA agreement. And so with that being the case, one of the things that I came across, as I mentioned, is the hourly wage that will be the bare minimum. And what kind of had me confused, and perhaps I should dive a little bit deeper into the article. Hi there, we got a man from Georgia tuning in. Appreciate you chiming in. Talking about the Mexican trade deal. Will it work? And how I believe it probably won't work for the Metro Detroit area, considering the fact that even though it's not as much of a car hub as it used to be, i.e. the name Motor City, I think that the wage that was stated in this article I'm going to share with you in a minute won't fly with a lot of Americans here because of, I believe, union involvement. Not sure if the union, automotive union corporations were involved in some of this trade deal, because as of now, it's going to be a little sketchy there. So someone from Las Vegas, welcome to the chat tonight. And so as always, if you got any thoughts on it, feel free to share. But I'm gonna get right into what I believe will not work here for the Metro Detroit area, being that we're kind of a car hub, or have been known as a car hub. And so I'm going to actually switch my screen and share with you exactly what I'm referring to. So let me switch it right here. Okay, so this little article here is from CNN, and I actually just skimmed through it briefly, so I haven't really read it in depth. But from what I saw, it was enough for me to really come out here and want to talk about this, because I think it's something that will be addressed eventually. And so just skimming through it, it gives some details as to how, as of Monday, President Trump from the Oval Office made a conference call, kind of like a celebration type of aspect with the Mexican president there. And they basically, they're going to change the name of NAFTA. And what was another part is interesting. It says This quoting President Trump, it says, they used to call it NAFTA. We're going to call it the United States-Mexico Trade Agreement. We're going to get rid of NAFTA because it had a bad connotation. And so my point is, one thing to be, what exactly does he mean by bad connotation here? Is he referring to how it was designed to basically drain the American economy of all the manufacturing foundation we were, which made us such a prosperous nation during the Industrial Revolution aspect of things, or what? So I'm curious to find out what that bad connotation means. So if anyone has any thoughts on that, feel free to chime in on that one. But NAFTA the name will be changed. And what's also interesting is the fact that it says United States and Mexico Trade Agreement. And so one thing I read in a different article is the fact that the whole agreement, i.e. NAFTA, is not really an agreement unless there's three signatures in agreement on what the contents of the actual stipulations are. And as of now, Canada's not included. So the fact that he left out Canada in this really, I'm sure, got Canada fired up to make some come to the table a little bit more willing to cooperate because they're not included in the so-called agreement, and Trump wants to change the name. But let me get a little further into it. And so it says, on a separate call with a reporter, Litzner highlighted some big changes that negotiators from both countries agreed to. So here we have some possible agreements on some things in regards to the manufacturing, auto manufacturing. And so it looks like, there's 3 bullet points here, in which it says the new deal will require that 75% of all parts in any car sold in North America be produced in the United States or Mexico, currently at 62. Okay. It says higher labor standards. The new deal will require that 40 to 45% of auto parts in cars be made by workers earning at least $16 per hour. It says sunset clause. The agreement will last for about 16 years. And so here's the big thing that I don't think will fly too well with the United States unions, as well as just those that have been in the car sector and looking to get into the manufacturing side of things, probably more so just general labor. And the idea that $16 an hour at a minimum, so minimum wage for going into the auto manufacturing, whether it be on the assembly line or whatever it might be. And it's good to say, because of these type of wages, they're gonna really have to probably automate a lot of their the process of manufacturing a car, because 16 hours per hour won't fly here in Detroit, hands down. And I'm not sure if you, whatever area you might be in, you might have some type of auto manufacturing plant or whatnot. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the fact that you think $16 an hour will fly, as far as people be willing to accept that, given the fact that that arrangement there seems very favorable for Mexican auto manufacturer workers, given that the fact that the minimum wage there is a lot lower than $16 an hour. So I think that at the end of the day, there might be some problems on the fact that this agreement is placing American workers and Mexican workers on the same entry level type of pay grade. And so here we have the idea that $16 an hour here in the United States of America, did a little math on the side. And so if we're looking at, say, in an entire work year of approximately 40 hours a week, that'll put us at around 2,000 hours, 2,080 work hours if you worked a normal 40-hour work week. That'll put you at about $32,000 or so for the year at probably an entry-level job, or I'm not sure what type of labor that will be. But $33,000 in the United States of America, as we have already covered extensively, will not cut it, definitely in the West Coast or the East Coast, because the cost of living is a little bit on the inflated side. And then here in the Metro Detroit area, especially, $33,000 would probably keep you in the city at best, living paycheck to paycheck once again. And so I'm not actually sure what the going rate in the plants are around the Detroit area, but it's good to say that for those that have put in some time, put in some years, they're a lot higher than $16 an hour. And so in Mexico, from my prior trip a couple days ago, and speaking with one of the hotel managers there, getting the lay of the land, trying to figure out how things are for the resorts in Cancun especially, the guy mentioned that a day's wage for most of the people, I guess either in the hotel area or the resort area or in general, he said is about $7 to $8 a day. And that's probably including non-skilled labor. But we have $7, $8 a day in comparison to $16 an hour. It's good to say a lot of Mexican manufacturers and labor, skilled workers in general, going to try to rush into the manufacturing, which will create a boom in Mexico. But here on the other end, across the border, I don't think people are going to be rushing in to a $16 an hour job. So that's something I wanted to get your thoughts on. So feel free to chime in there. Got a couple questions or a couple of thoughts here. It says, every 2 years, a week I buy core. Okay, we got some comment there on silver. It says, I've been buying silver since 2011. Losing. Did I mention losing? Johnny Deep, man, don't lose heart in the idea that in acquiring or redeeming your notes for money or metals, it's the long game. It's not, as you can tell, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, because you're up against a system that's well structured to make sure that the citizens don't win in and of itself. And so you won't probably see the results you probably thought you were going to see until there's some type of economic shift, reset, collapse. And so that could be tomorrow. It could be 5, 10, who knows. But as I always say, thinking long term, knowing that it's quoted as all fiat currencies return to its intrinsic value of zero. If you believe that statement, then you know it's just a matter of time. So hang in there, my friend. Stay, be encouraged. There's a lot of people in the same boat you are who probably got in a little bit on the high side. 2011, that's the high side, and now definitely not seeing the payoff that you were anticipating in fiat dollars. And so another thing will be, don't anticipate and don't expect to have your moment of profitability in the Federal Reserve note. I would imagine that you probably would not necessarily want to exchange it back to Federal Reserve notes when the day of reckoning comes for that particular currency. But that's just my thoughts on there. But just thought I would chime in on there. It says the Morpheus Network says, welcome back to Bakersfield, California. Thank you, my friends. McDonald's cost me $13 yesterday for breakfast. Johnny, man, I went somewhere and got Arby's for like, I think 3 people, it was, cost me $35 or something like that. So it's definitely something that's quite alarming. So we have a caller. Let's see what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tim, Colorado, returning the call from last night.
Tim, how you doing, my friend? I've been expecting your call.
Good. I owe you an answer.
Okay, yeah. So before we get there, let me kind of set it up a little bit for those that may be tuning in and didn't have a chance to check in yesterday. But Tim called in regards to his current situation, as far as just being a little bit concerned on how things are going and how and where to place his life's earnings or whatnot. And so I posed a question before we got off the phone last night. It was in reference to if he knew, if he was in a position, say in Venezuela, if he knew that the currency or the country was going to have its day of reckoning, which is happening in Venezuela right now, and if he was receiving financial advice from somebody, what would he do? Would he be a little bit more at ease in probably having a little bit of heavier weight in precious metals? And so that's kind of where I left it at. And I left it in your hands there. So knowing what you know now, I assume that you will be willing to say that what's happening in Venezuela as well as other countries might possibly happen in the United States of America one day. And if you do believe that, then what would your answer be?
First, I do believe that, and it's going to happen everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
No fiat currency has ever survived, therefore we can't.
Correct. I agree.
So, okay, what I would do is first, and this is what I tell other people to do, and I'm trying to get the nerve or the kahoonies to do it myself, but pull all your money, this is before the crash, pull all your money out of the stock market, obviously that's a casino. Then you have to either, let's say you have a good retirement. You can't have all the money at your house. So you're going to have to keep some in the banking system for medical and emergencies. Beware that you may lose all that. And then if I was in Venezuela versus here, if you had excessive, I'd max out on the metals, at some point you can only store so much, and remember, metals melt too. So if your house burns, you better have them underground or something. And then maybe if you have extra, you buy a house and make sure all your things are in good condition, and obviously no debt is the very first thing.
Yeah.
But I have a millennial here, and I said I have to answer this question tonight, and the first thing out of his mouth is leave.
Leave and go where?
Yeah, well, right now Columbia's not letting you in very easy, so yeah, go where? Probably anywhere might be better, but that's a good question, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, you could leave before or after. It gets harder after, so that may not be a viable option. But I agree with you, but keep in mind, if you have precious metals, you got to be able to protect them too. And you can't carry silver; it's too heavy. You can't carry much.
Yeah, yeah. And so another thing that some people hinted at, I've had prior guests that mentioned that the opportunity that might come about in mining stocks. And so I personally haven't really dived into it much. I've had some guests on with different companies and whatnot that I'm looking into, and so I haven't looked into it enough to where I put a good portion of money into it. But the idea that those stocks might end up rising in nominal terms, but yet if there's a complete collapse like we've never seen before, it's no telling if governments will allow those mines to stay profitable yet in the private hands of individual owners, unless they might nationalize it or something of that nature. So there's no real way of protecting yourself completely. I think at the end of the day, it's more so how much are you willing to lose if you don't make adjustments out of the old paradigm that's already come to an end. Because, you know, the worst thing is to have everything you've ever earned or worked for, in my opinion, in something that will return to its intrinsic value of zero. And so just from how it's happening all around us now, I don't see the U.S. being any better or any greater of a nation that we would avoid such a thing. So the question would be, so basically I got your answer is, you know that how important your weight is, basically.
Absolutely. But you got to be able to protect it. Don't melt it.
Yeah. And
you got to be, and if should you have to bug out, you're not bugging out with silver. You might be taking some gold. But
yeah. Yeah, and also just another option people have suggested that is the opportunity of doing some homework and finding different jurisdictions that have a different thought process towards government intervention in foreigners storing wealth in segregated accounts as far as vaults or whatnot. So those are all options that people mention about having a little bit here, a little bit there, in case you do have to leave. You got something over there, something over there. And if everything is dispersed evenly, somehow, some way, perhaps, you know, you might lose something here or there, but you'll have enough that could help you out on the other end a lot better than if you had nothing at all. So, yeah, I think everybody's gonna take a loss of some kind, especially when it comes to our cost of living, standard of living, and everything of that nature. But it's more so, you know, transferring your wealth into the new instrument of the medium of exchange, whether it be blockchain based solely or some cashless society or whatever they try to spin at us. It's not going to be in regards to Federal Reserve notes. I think we all can kind of agree on that.
I hope so, which leads me to two more. I agree with everything you just said. I'm not going to mess with the mining stocks. And I think we have two risks. One is in 1933, the government already took 10% of the gold. The rest of the people wouldn't turn it in.
Yeah.
I think I think that they're not either going to take it all. And I wanted to ask you the difference between mint and bullion, because I think there's a chance with mint you might be able to turn it into the new currency. With bullion, you may have to go black market.
Yeah, but mint. Okay, so the first thought before I get to mint and bullion. So the first thought is, I think it was David Morgan I had on a year or two ago. He referenced the idea that the likelihood of the government being able to go to individuals' houses or pass some type of law that the people would abide to is unlikely, because majority of the population don't possess metals in that regards there. And then Mike Maloney from Hidden Secrets of Money always referenced the idea of having some jewelry. So if you have jewelry or whatnot, jewelry, you know, is something you wear. It's not really considered bullion or money in that regards there. It's more so something you wear. So it's not considered money, but yet it has value intrinsically. So there's different ways of getting around that, I would imagine, because how could they account for who has what, apart from if you've ordered directly from the mint itself, the Treasury and mint itself, or if the bullion dealer you work with keeps records and they submit your information saying that John bought XYZ throughout the last 15 years. And so apart from people keeping track of you, which a lot of mints don't do, I don't believe, there'd be no way of them actually being able to say, okay, he has XYZ amount. So that'd be a fine line. So I don't think they'll actually take it, but then they may tax the snot out you, though. As far as if you ever try to go sell it or exchange it, you're going to have to come out at 75% off top type of thing in taxes. So that might be the most likely if it comes to that. Be just they will tax you out of it to where you're not going to want to get rid of it, for paper especially.
Yeah.
And then also
that's great brainstorming.
Yeah, and then also on the mint and bullion aspect, to my knowledge, minted coins come from usually a government entity. So like we have the Bureau of Engraving and whatnot that does our minting, but it's through the Treasury, roughly speaking. And so it's government issues, which means it's, according to United States Code, coins is actual legal tender still. So I've never heard of them, apart from 1933, but now it'd be hard for them to confiscate your actual physical coins, which is money, as opposed to bullion. That's just some private mint or something printing up all types of generic rounds or whatnot. So, or bars or whatnot. So it's not government sanctioned. So I don't know how that would work out in some type of complete collapse, but I'm sure they would be willing to rewrite the rules to make sure that the majority of people are not benefiting off of a collapse or something of that nature.
Well, they'll rewrite the rules in a second, number one. And number two, it's not even legal tender now.
Yeah. And so if you look at the United States Code, United States coins are considered legal tender. However, the silver and gold bullion that comes from the mint is not circulating as such because of the disparity in face value and the nominal value. So no one's going to be willing to go somewhere and exchange it. And on the other end, no one would acknowledge it as a $20 silver piece as opposed to it saying $1 on it. So more likely the person in front of you that may not know what it is will look at it and it says $1 face value, and they'll use it for $1, if they are wise enough to accept it. So problem is it's not in circulation like that, so no one would know what to do with it. But it is legal tender though. So
it's legal tender according to the Constitution.
Yeah. So to my knowledge, nothing's ever changed behind the books or in the fine print of our legal documents. It's just that everyone knows better than to turn in your government issued coins for paper. So,
Mike, it's a good training for everybody else on the phone call.
For sure. I agree, my friend. Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
I'm in college. I'm in college, and we're talking grammar school here.
Yeah.
So, okay, next, I got another question.
Yep.
First of all, they can come to your house. Everything is recorded. They know exactly how much I have purchased and when.
Okay.
Everything is recorded, Mike.
Yeah, that I do agree.
And I'm going to let you go so you can talk to some other people, but I have a whole list of things I want to talk about. And the one I'd like to talk to you next about would be, okay, I don't know if you know, but we're going to have a universal identification in 2020. Right now, you can't, if you owe the IRS sufficient amount of money, you can't get a passport.
Yep.
In 2020, if you don't accept the national ID card, okay, you can't fly within the country, let alone get a passport or leave.
Yeah, that I don't doubt. Let me actually look that up because that is a very good point there. Because I think somebody mentioned it in the past, and so let me see. So are you sure about the national ID card by 2020?
I'm gonna say 80% confident, but you never don't believe anything you hear and half of what you see.
Yeah. Okay. So I typed in national ID card by 2020. Let's see what pops up. And so it says, what is real ID? Trump administration enforces new identification card. New ID rules at airport are pushed back to 2020. Is your ID approved for travel? Countdown for the real ID. So definitely it's been a lot of talk in the last 2 years since President Trump has been in office, it looks like. It says U.S. now rolling out national ID cards. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt that that's some way to they keep track of more people. So, and the question would be, is it actually going to be a physical card, or would it start off as a card and they'll want to do something on some biometrical type implementation, eye scan, fingerprint? So that might be the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's going to start off with a card, make it user friendly.
Yeah, That's right. Then it's going to be retina and fingerprint. And by the way, they've already got your facial, and they've already got your facial if you have a driver's license or you've flown.
Yeah, and on top of that, they got the closed caption TVs that keeps track of everything. And also, in traveling one time to at the airport to beat the rush because I was running behind to get my plane, I end up, like a dummy signing up for the whole program they had there where you can skip the line if you go through their little experiment there. So I signed up like a dummy. But hey, it is what it is. But man, Tim, I thank you for calling in, my friend. Appreciate you.
Okay, I'll talk to you. Are you every night, or how often are you on?
I'm going to do every night, Monday through Thursday, 9:30 to 10:30, as best as I can. Longest schedule permits, and people want it. The people want it, we can make it happen.
Okay, well, I'm going to call you up again on your next time, and let's just change topics each time.
Sounds good, my friend. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, man.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, saw some great conversation there, back and forth as always. It says, let me get to some of the comments here. It says, in a collapse, Venezuela, Weimar Republic, Zimbabwe scenario, he who loses the least wins. Yeah, that's a good point there. He who loses the least wins. And I'm basically saying, how much are you willing to win? How much are you willing to lose by not thinking outside the box and doing a little bit of something different than what has been the status quo to this day? Because history is a very good teacher as to what you can expect, because there's nothing new under the sun. Technically, it's just redone in a different way with some new bells and whistles behind it. And so if it's happened before, it can happen again. And knowing that, if you have some foresight, if you see some trends, you can save yourself a lot of heartache just by making a small tweak in your thinking as well as your plans. It says, yes, the government might be looking for me. I'm getting my weight up. Yes, man, get your weight up. I mean, in my opinion, and of course I believe you would agree, it is your right to get your weight up. It is your right to get as heavy as you can, because you are basically just a concerned citizen. I mean, I think it's only proper. It's only right if you do your homework and understand the times we're in. When and this is what I hinted at last night about we're faced with two really crucial aspects that's causing this paradigm shift, and it's the idea that the old world order has ended. It's already done. We're in a transition period right now. And what I mean by old world order is the fact that our entire economy and monetary system is based upon, it's been sustained by two models. One is the central bank monopoly of national currencies and the manipulation of interest rates, as well as just all the fine print that the central banks have done in the best interest of their own commercial banks, their shareholders, because every central bank has shareholders. Look it up. And so it's their responsibility to make sure you return a profit to those who invest into you and those who you're working for, truly. So that's the central bank model, which is dying down because they already bailed out the too big to fail banks. Now, what do you do now? Unfortunately, you have to bail in the depositors next go round, so be aware of that. And the second one is government deficits. Up until the creation of central banks and the implementation of, or the government relying upon the central banks for its credit usage, every government now, for the most part, runs a deficit, which means they look forward to actually being able to borrow more than they can ever look to repay. And that's kind of the problem that's happening right now with all those countries that are going to be the dominoes that lead to this monetary restructuring, because you have Argentina is another country that just borrowed $50 million or $50 billion from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which is a central bank of central banks. It's a entity owned by who, God knows who, with the disguised as the helper of last resort, but they lend credit, they extend credit to nations that already are having problems paying their current debts, with no care or concern at the fact that they won't be able to repay back their current debt nor the new debt. And so the IMF comes in and confiscates land or whatnot, in which they're going to end up having to do to Argentina as well. They're going to take some of the islands or something of that nature, what they're doing in Greece and Italy and all those countries, because if you can't pay them back, we'll just come and collect from you physically. So the idea that central bank monopoly is at its end because people no longer want to use the SWIFT system, hence the idea of everyone looking to move away from the SWIFT to come up with an alternative, which is unfortunately going to be blockchain based, and it's going to be linked to some type of metal. So you have all the agreements going on behind the scenes is an indicator that the central banking model is dying. And then government deficits is a problem because we're at 21 trillion now, and it's going to be a lot higher by the end of this year, unfortunately. And then leading into next year, when this market corrects and there's a official recession announced next year, then they have to borrow some more, and the central bank gonna get involved and have to QE some more. So those two things there have come to an end, and so if you don't see that or recognize that, I'm not sure what to tell you. But if you're a viewer of RTD as well as alternative media space, you know. Yes, it says it sounds like it's in the works that the cops are talking about. They say you forget your fingerprint, you have to be on the card. Yeah, so that's something new, and it's just a matter of and if it gets to that, and that's in reference to the ID card and them requiring that you use your thumbprint or eye scan or something of that nature. And I mean that's a violation of your rights, in my opinion. So the question would then be, if you are in a disagreement with that rule of law that might be put into place, and if it violates your conscience / your free will, then what do you do? You know what I'm saying? Do you disobey, or do you do it and go from there? So that's going to be all things we're all going to be confronted with pretty soon if you're living in this country, because we get a chance to see everything happening around us, which is going to start there, but they come here last. So, yeah. It says, what do you think about platinum coins? Platinum coins, definitely, they retain their value because they're on the periodic table, because they are coins that can be a transfer of energy throughout time. So definitely, I am a supporter of utilizing that medium. And to be honest with you, I'm not a big platinum or rhodium or what's it called, platinum type of individual, but definitely it says let me see what the price is. Let me see what platinum price is right now. I must admit I don't really keep tabs on it. It says platinum price per ounce is $809 as of today. So it's definitely cheaper than gold. So if it's something that tickles your fancy, do what you do, because it definitely won't do you no harm in my opinion. It says Black Panther on big dips like last week. Papers, please. We want it every. Okay. Silver will gain more than platinum at minimum due to usage. Yeah, and so I know platinum and especially palladium, they have very unique cases as far as usage. I know in the auto manufacturing, as far as the platinum and the exhaust systems and whatnot, and then palladium. I know I think I heard or saw some about the Russians being really big on palladium because of its uses for something of that nature. I'm not even sure offhand. So definitely, you can't go wrong with it, in my opinion. It says gold and silver have more uses than platinum in everyday cases. It says platinum is valuable, but to a smaller market than gold or silver. Everyone wants those. Yeah, just don't get in trouble with it. You worry about. Lolo, the idea that if you don't get in trouble, then you won't have nothing to worry about. It flies right now, but I think down the line, there's gonna come a time where your everyday person that's been minding their business, been handling their business, never been in trouble, are going to be confronted with that moment of being tested, where you're going to be called out to stand on what you believe in, whether you've done nothing wrong or not. It's going to come to your doorstep. And so to not worry about it if you mind your business, I don't think that's going to fly much longer, because if you've done nothing, they still going to come knock on your door. You're going to have to get involved. And it boils down, and this is another subject I want to talk on, is the whole idea of privacy. Privacy is a God-given right. It is not a privilege that is given to you by an entity or your government or your governing authority. So most people right now are not really concerned with their privacy, i.e. the caller mentioned about everything has been watched. If you just your cell phone is listening to you right now, It's just if you want to test that, Google cell phone listen to you, and or something of that nature, and then you'll find out if you talk about a certain subject long enough, you're gonna get all types of ads in your browser as well as in your social media feeds. That's gonna pop up as if you were just not long ago talking about it. So that's the way that they market and target people, by turning on the microphone and the cameras. So that's invasion of your privacy. But people are mad about it. People don't care. People are distracted. People aren't concerned with it because why? They don't have nothing to hide. Supposedly, they're not in any trouble. But it's your right to privacy, and that's going to be something we're going to have to address eventually. And I believe it's going to happen with the crypto sector. That's going to be an industry that brings forth the movement where people want privacy. When you no longer have financial freedom to be able to keep your finances private. So, just my thoughts. Bit of truth, but by gold, silver. Lolo tell that the millions of Chinese that did nothing and are in dire straits starts due to the new system. Yeah, so that's just a test experiment on the country with the most people on the planet, China. And then I'm sure India has something similar. It says, hell no, hyperinflation incoming. Prepare. It says, color of laws is not the rule of law. IDs are a color of law. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. It says, big hug from Puerto Rico. In the stock market crash, oil mining stocks should go up in value. We got Puerto Rico in the house. How you guys doing down there? I'm curious if you don't mind chiming in regards to Puerto Rico there. I know a good portion of the island was not in commission still due to not having power. Give me a little insight. And if you're able to, call in right now. I would love to get your thoughts on Puerto Rico because we don't hear about Puerto Rico at all. And it's hurricane season coming up, or if not already right now. So I pray that no type of a hurricane comes back that direction because I'm sure you guys, no one needs that. Houston doesn't need technical. No one needs destruction of that nature. So call it if you like. It says big hug from Warrior. It says Dash, Monero, Digital Note, Pivx, and several more are improving, so crypto will be ready. Omnibone, very good point there, my friend. And so there are cryptocurrencies that are labeled as being anonymous / private / all those features that promote privacy. And right now, those are probably the most undervalued coins on the market cap, period, because right now people are focusing on the flashy names and the big blockchains and all the promises of the top 10, top 50, top 20, of which out of all those top 20 coins, so I don't think none of them are privacy coins. And so once the crypto market booms and people, and then once the crypto market booms, and then people really begin to make a lot of nominal profit and they're getting out, and there's a problem with the taxation side of things, then there's going to be some crackdown. And with the crackdown comes regulation on the crypto sector, which will then shift everyone in those mainstream cryptos to the privacy coins. And so the cryptocurrencies that are labeled private will have the biggest boom in the end before we're introduced to the government-issued cryptocurrencies that everyone will have to use. And as I mentioned before, as a possible scenario, you having to use your social security number or some type of government ID, which is ID card that we're talking about, using your thumbprint or something like that, which will contain your key phrase or whatnot. And so there's no real telling how they're gonna spin this out, but those are all some scenarios that could be possibilities. It says hurricane season is pretty much in line with baseball season, April to November. Yeah, so it's not even started really. Soon we'll be waiting too. Social media is a damn data mining. Yeah. Then we have data mining. That's going to be key. So what I'm looking forward to is having companies as well as projects that are blockchain based to disrupt the current monopoly in the data mining, in the social media realm, as well as what I'm looking for is a computer operating system that is decentralized, has all the bells and whistles of being encrypted from the time you boot it up to the time you cut it off. It's completely encrypted. All those whistles there for privacy's sake. A cell phone operating system that can just remove the monopoly off iOS, Google, Android, and whatever else there might be out there that nobody really uses. But the two primary operating systems for the cell phones. Once we get a blockchain encrypted version, that'll be two systems right there that would change the game. So if we can disrupt the operating systems for our computers and our phones, that'll be a start. And when that comes, you better believe I'm be on that token or that coin. But I've gotten way off topic, and we can draw towards the end of our conversation. So the last thing I'm gonna talk about is what this video is all about. So that everyone is chiming in. The original subject was the Mexican trade deal, and the idea that the article. I'm gonna have to go back to the article. The article here talks about the idea of agreed upon what looks like minimum wage for auto manufacturers in Mexico, it appears, as well as in the United States of America, will be at least $16 US per hour. And the question I pose and the problem I see with this is it's not going to fly with the unions, because they're basically setting a bare minimum standard on what people can make. And unless it's like a fresh out of high school trade skill type of internship type of job, not too many people are going to fly well with $16,000 or $16 US per hour, because that's roughly $33,000 a year. And in Detroit especially, that's not going to do you that good as a single individual, period. And then in Mexico, that benefits them, because if minimum wage is $3.95 an hour, or depending on what sector you're in, is $7-8 a day, that's a hell of a jump for that country there in regards to actual manpower and hours that people would be willing to take in Mexico. So it's going to be a problem at the end of the day. So do you think that's something that will fly? Will this initial Mexican trade deal be shot down when it goes before Congress for approval and all stuff like that? So I'm interested in getting your thoughts on that, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day. So if anybody got any thoughts, feel free to call in or chime in via chat, and we can keep this party going. It says Ubuntu are good systems, Linux and Ubuntu. Yeah, but I don't think, okay, with Linux and Ubuntu, whatever, softwares, I'm familiar with them. I don't know if they have the app features of having third-party applications that are as plentiful as Google and iOS, which will be a problem, because a lot of the main parts of our phones are the apps that we utilize, whether it be YouTube or all our financial apps or whatnot. So I don't think they have apps of that nature. So that means you have to then download some special software to get those apps, or just use the web browser, which would probably be the best idea. So, good point. Cannot do that with metals either. Or actually, you can. Been in there for 5 electric power is up completely. I was 2 months without power. There is solar revolution right now here. Thousands of people here going solar. The hurricane was a nightmare. Yeah, I saw a video and how some people, I think some people were taxed heavily to bring in solar panels, because they thought about providing their own options as opposed to waiting on the government to come in. So they were taxed in order to get the solar power panels there set up and running, that they had to set up themselves. Some people did. So that's not friendly at all. It says Ubuntu used to sell information to Amazon when you hit the super Windows key. Wow, really? I didn't know about that one. They sold the keywords you search for. Yeah, so that's once again, like, just there's no way of really having free access to the internet to just casually surf and do what you want to do without there being some type of, the typical excuse of is tax evasion, crime, terrorism, or whatever it is they paint as being the primary reason why you don't deserve privacy. Yeah, so that's what it is, man. It's very sad. Yeah, man. But anyway, so we're going to draw towards the end. It's been an hour, give or take. And once again, it's been great having a chance to open up the mic and get a call in. And definitely, if you're tuning into this late, feel free to leave a comment down below in reference to the whole Mexican trade deal, if you think it's going to work or not. I'm interested in finding that out. As well as if anything else comes up, feel free to leave a comment down below. And make sure, if you're new, share this video. If you'd like to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and whatnot. We'll be back here tomorrow night with some more hot topics. And also, here's a challenge for you guys. If there's some topics that you guys want to talk about or want to cover that I might not be able to do a video through during the day, I might not be familiar with, feel free to leave a comment below, or join the Facebook or Twitter. See all this stuff right here. Steam it, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Link up with me there. Send me a note throughout the day, or post an article to my page and whatnot. If it's something worthy, I'll share it and help you help get the word out as well. So connect with me on Patreon and all these places here, and we'll definitely make it a conversation topic another day. So other than that, Enjoy your evening. Have a good night. And definitely make sure you guys subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and share this video if you found it informative. Tell a friend to join us tomorrow night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I hopefully be on time, as long as there's no issues behind the scenes. But other than that, enjoy your night, and I'll see you guys later.